welcome to the Divine Nexus Comics YouTube channel. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe, and enjoy the video.
The razor crest descended through the thick, emerald canopy of a nameless forest moon in the outer rim, its hull cutting through the mist like a blade. Vapor trails clung to the ship's wings as it touched down on a heavy carpet of ancient moss and fallen leaves, the engines hissing as they cooled in the humid air. Inside, Grogu pressed, his face against the cockpit glass, fascinated by the way the sunlight filtered through the massive trees in dusty golden beams that illuminated swarms of tiny glowing spores. Dingerin adjusted his belt and checked the charge on his pulse rifle, preparing to scout the surrounding area for a clean water source to replenish their supplies. "Stay in the ship, kid," he said, his voice echoing slightly in the damp silence of the cockpit as he checked the external sensors. He explained that the scanners were picking up a lot of biological movement, and he didn't want the child becoming part of the local food chain before sealing the main hatch and disappearing into the dense brush. However, a rhythmic, deep-throated croak from just outside the hull proved to be far more enticing than any mechanical toy or instruction to stay put. To Grogu, that sound was the siren song of a potential gourmet meal, a resonance that suggested a frog of truly magnificent proportions was hidden nearby in the foliage. He waited exactly 10 seconds after the Mandalorian's heavy footsteps faded before wiggling his way toward a small secondary emergency hatch he had discovered during a previous maintenance session. The forest floor was a playground of soft mud and tangled roots, each of Grogu's tiny steps releasing the scent of damp earth and exotic blossoms into the thick air. He moved with a newfound confidence, his large ears swiveling to track the source of the persistent croaking while he navigated around giant mushrooms that glowed with a faint, pulsing violet light. He wasn't just hunting for a snack. He was exploring a world that felt vibrantly alive in a way the sterile corridors of the ship never could. He eventually reached the edge of a hidden lagoon, where the water was so still it looked like a dark mirror reflecting the towering trees above. Resting on a massive, floating lily pad was the source of the noise, a golden-crested glow toad, its skin shimmering with a metallic luster that rivaled the Mandalorian's Beskar armor. The creature was nearly as big as Grogu himself, and it stared at him with wide, unblinking eyes that seemed to challenge the little hunter to make a move. Just as Grogu prepared to use the Force to bring the delicacy closer to the shore, a long, sticky vine suddenly dropped from the canopy above and snagged the hem of his robe. It wasn't a vine at all, but the tongue of a camouflage creeper, a plant-like predator that mimicked the surrounding foliage to ambush unsuspecting prey. Grogu found himself being hoisted into the air, dangling upside down as the hidden creature prepared to pull him into its leafy maw for a closer inspection. Thinking quickly, Grogu didn't panic. Instead, he closed his eyes and focused on the moisture in the humid air around the predator's sticky tongue. With a tiny, concentrated grunt, he used the Force to flash freeze the saliva, turning the flexible tongue into a brittle, icy rod in an instant. The creeper, startled by the sudden, biting chill and the loss of its grip, let out a rustling shiver and released him, sending Grogu tumbling softly into a patch of feather moss. Before he could gather his senses or make a second attempt at the glow toad, the familiar roar of a jetpack signaled the Mandalorian's return to the landing site. Dingerin landed near the edge of the lagoon, his boots splashing in the shallow water as he took in the sight of Grogu covered in violet spores and bits of frozen vine. "I should have known," Mando muttered, his helmet tilting in that familiar gesture of exasperated affection as he reached down to pick up the damp and disheveled foundling. As they made their way back to the ship, Grogu let out a satisfied coo, his hands tucked hidden inside his sleeves where he had managed to stash a single glowing lily seed. He might have missed out on the giant toad, but he had survived the forest straps and found a new treasure to study in the safety of his prom, back on the ship. As Mando grumbled about cleaning the moss out of the floorboards, Grogu watched his seed glow in the dark, already dreaming of the next adventure. Thanks for watching. If you want to see more stories like this, make sure to like and subscribe. Until next time, stay super.